What's up, everyone? You're listening to the latest episode of the Ear Coffee Podcast. My name is Wes. Today, I'm joined by all four members of the band The Briefly Gorgeous. Thanks for stopping by today. How are we all doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Well, thank you for having us.
Of course, very happy to have y'all here. A day after the EP came out, felt like it's fun when interviews line up right with when the release comes out, because sometimes it's weeks, months later, but sometimes it's like, oh, this was yesterday. This just happened. Oh my gosh. Which is a weird feeling, having been on the other end as well.
This was an accident. This wasn't planned, by the way.
No, yeah, this was totally coincidental. Like, I mean, as soon as we booked, planned it, it was like, oh, 15th, 16th. I can do math. 15 plus 1 is 16.
Mm-hmm.
I proved it. All right, before I start just doing math on Mike, let's do some introductions. Just names, role in the band, any other pertinent information you feel led by the Lord to share with our audience today.
The Lord.
Yeah, one of them.
Okay.
Start with you then.
Sorry.
He might not show up. It's up to him.
No, he's here. He's
Oh,
here.
God.
You're wearing a Keanu Reeves t-shirt after all.
Okay, I'll prefer that. You almost activated my Christian trauma. I was like, this too early.
Anyway, my name's Johnny. I play guitar.
I'm Maddie. I play bass.
I'm Kaylin. I sing and play some guitar as well.
And I'm Al, and I play the drums.
Cool.
What?
That proves
Maddie
pretty
can't
sufficiently that the Lord is not here, because no one was being led, which is not a bad thing. Just observing. This may be, well, I don't know if anybody, except for you, Al. You were the only one who's listened to the Bugsy interview recently, probably. This might be a little redundant for you, but whenever I talk with an artist or with a band, I find that music has been such an integral part of their lives pretty much since the start. Or at least there's a very clear point, or some kind of clear point, where that relationship kind of started to develop, that took you down the path to writing, recording, playing music, doing all the things that may or may not come with being in a band and putting yourself out there that way. So I'd like to ask, what was your relationship with music when you were growing up, as you were first kind of latching onto those initial favorites? And was there kind of a moment where everything kind of clicked, where you knew, or that you could kind of start to discern that this was going to be like something that was a significant part of your life, at least for an ongoing period leading us up to at least today? And I hope it doesn't stop with today. That'd be a real fucking bummer.
Well, it might, you know.
There's always a non-zero
Don't
chance.
jinx me, you know.
I'm not trying to, but spontaneous combustion
knock on
does
wood.
happen.
Praise Keanu. You know.
That's why this isn't a video podcast.
Enter the Matrix. Yeah, so my dad was a musician growing up, a singer-songwriter.
I did not know.
And so the first memories of like music, especially like live music, were just hearing my dad like play guitar and sing his songs growing up. So I had exposure to that like from a very young age.
Were they songs that he'd written, or just like covers, or a mix?
No, songs that he'd written.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he used to like, in the 80s, like, do the whole like beatnik thing in New York and,
Word.
open mics. And yeah, so that was like, growing up listening to his songs, and the emotions that arose in me from such a young age just were so inspiring that I can't remember a time where I didn't think that music was going to be like a, huge part of my life.
Like a big chunk of the puzzle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very different upbringing. My parents were not musically inclined. My dad still can't clap to their Friends theme song.
Dog.
It's hard.
Hey, you practice a little bit.
Sorry, Dad.
Yeah. First graders got him beat. Sorry, Dad.
But yeah, I started playing violin in the first grade, and I'm not sure where I like had this notion that I wanted to play violin, because prior to starting I had begged my parents to learn, and I don't know where that had happened, but I played for 2 years, and I was really bad, and so it was really squeaky, and so I hated it. And around that same time, I also was like starting to have some really serious growth spurts. I'm kind of a giant, and so I was already on a 3/4 size violin in like the 2nd grade, and so they were like, we don't really know where to go from here if you get any taller. And so the beginning of my 3rd grade year, they're like, let's try you on something a little bigger. And I started on bass. And from like that very first moment, it was kind of like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I guess I've just never stopped.
Yeah. How long did you play like upright bass or like throughout school, or was that?
I like still do.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
so-
the skills obviously like could translate pretty well, but
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, started in the 3rd grade on stand up, and then I added electric bass specifically for a jazz band in the 5th grade. Yeah. So
love. There's nothing I love more than a 5th grade jazz band.
I know. There's nothing that makes you feel cooler than being in a 5th grade jazz
absolutely.
band.
And like the only people you know there are your bandmates and you're like your mom, and you're like, this is the best moment of my life.
Which is really funny. It's funny you say that because like I think we were okay. Like we were decent
Like, do you
enough.
think like objectively, whatever that can mean, or like
Yeah,
even for, just like for a
because-
5th grade band, because that could mean something.
I'll tell you why. Because we got to play the Dakota that year.
What?
As 5th graders, which is like the
Hot
most
damn.
insane thing to say. Of being like, everyone's like, oh, here are all the venues or whatever, and they have this little like checklist of like, how do you climb in the Twin Cities? And I was like, oh, I've already done the Dakota. Not that counts. I'm sure they're just like, oh, these kids are really excited about music. Let's just like feed that. Which
But
is
still, no,
exciting.
that's still really exciting. Like just having that as an opportunity, regardless of whether it was talent or merit based, according to someone's standards.
Just but yeah, I think we were okay.
Yeah, I mean, you had to. I'm guessing
We
you're
had to be
at least okay
okay.
for someone to be like, "I'll let him have this." Like, we'll have a
Exactly.
little field trip.
But anyway, passing it along.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So I guess for me, it's somewhere in the middle. I don't have any parents that were like musicians per se, but my mom did play piano and played flute and band in high school and stuff. And my grandma had also played piano and stuff on that side. My dad's side of the family, like he never played any music at all. He does listen to music, but
That's not remarkable.
no.
So I'm bullying everyone's parents kind of accidentally. I'm sorry.
No, it's
sorry.
totally
sorry
totally
to the
fine.
dads.
Sorry. But I
don't
know
even
it was
project
just
onto
the
your
classic, like from a young age, like they wanted me to like, they gave me like piano lessons in elementary school because they're like, you're gonna play the piano because it's part of a well-rounded suburban education.
Yeah.
You know,
specifically suburban. Yeah.
yeah, type of thing. And it was like one of those, you learn, like they tried to teach you like classical piano and get you into like, and then it was like, okay, well, because your grandma played French horn, I'm going to play French horn type of thing. And like, okay, I didn't particularly enjoy it, but it was like, it wasn't the music that drove me.
Yeah.
But it was definitely like, I seemed to naturally gravitate towards creating music, that I kept doing it long enough that by the time I got to like middle school and my friends started learning how to play guitar and play like band instruments and stuff, like rock band instruments, that I was like, oh, I want to learn how to play guitar. So
Yeah.
I did. And then I actually like started just writing music, and it was terrible, but I like just kept going for years. And it was like one of those, the parents forcing you to do the classical music, like take lessons and stuff, lasted just long enough for me
Yeah.
to find the music that I actually enjoyed making, and then I just couldn't stop myself, and I just kept going from there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So true, bestie.
yeah.
That was like a little too relatable. Like I feel seen.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, but I just kept playing the same dumbass honker, the saxophone for a redacted band that we do not name. Cool.
Yeah, so in terms of when I was younger, my dad, like both of my parents are like into music like that, but super specifically, my dad was like a taper. So
What kind of shows was he like bootlegging or taping?
he went to a lot of Soul Asylum shows.
Oh.
To be completely honest, a lot of
No,
like
Dave Printer's really nice. That's awesome.
a lot of like Jayhawks, Gear Daddies, the Meat Puppets, like.
Your dad would have loved the UCD section at Down in the Valley.
Yeah, so like my dad like went to, and then like I said, like my dad like was going, like he was a Deadhead, so he was like going to like Dead shows in like the 70s, 80s, things of that nature. So I just like was like always like peripherally kind of like tapped. Last time I was on here, I said how I heard Crazy Train on the radio. And like when the first time I ever heard Crazy Train, I thought that was just like the craziest song. Like I was like, oh my God, like this is so
It's
good.
a pretty crazy train.
Yeah.
Craziest train.
It's going
Yeah.
off the rails.
Yeah, trains aren't supposed to do that. In case you
Yeah.
typically. It's a
And then I think like in a very real way, and I feel like this is like perhaps like a pretty like relatable experience, but I had a PS2 when I was younger, and one year for Christmas I got Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock.
Legend of Rock, very
Yeah,
specific.
and like yeah, I think I don't know, I just like really 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 loved playing Guitar Hero. At first I fucking sucked ass at it, and then I was like, this is like the worst game ever, and then like I eventually like got good at it, and I thought it was super fun, and then
You just revealed an essential rule of all video games. You just have to get good.
yeah, I mean that's kind of like with everything in life.
Yeah, not just video games. We don't have to
Yeah,
do that.
but and then so I thought I was into guitar, and so like I took lessons for a little bit, and maybe it was just because I was young, and also like the guitar is like that is just like an instrument that just like is so hard for me to like wrap my head around. So like I didn't get very far with that, but I eventually, like my parents, I don't know, they were just I had man, I can like in second grade there was like a day where they were like teaching us how to use chopsticks. So I brought this pair of chopsticks home from school, just like a wooden pair of chopsticks, and I was always just like beating on like the couch and stuff, and then like my parents were just like, and then I eventually started playing the drums, and yeah, that's how I started like playing the drums, and that I took to that like way more naturally and just like very fast.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioning playing Guitar Hero, I have actually a funny related anecdote. So my friends down the street, when I was growing up, around middle school, they got Rock Band. And so I have a very specific memory. It was around the time when I was like, I wanted to like sing and like learn how to sing and stuff. We did we were all upstairs and we were playing Rock Band, and everyone else was playing the instruments, and I had the microphone, and we did Dirty Little Secret by the All American Rejects.
Ooh.
And I sang it up the full octave, and as like a 14-year-old or something. And then I think that my friend's parents from downstairs was like, you know, you can just sing it the octave down. Like I clearly was not very good, but I was just like, no, I'm gonna do it. And I just
Like just even an octave above this, like the
no,
guy singing,
just
or
like at normal pitch, because it's like kind of a higher pitch. Like it's like, so I was like
it's a tenor.
yeah, but like, you know, you're going through puberty and stuff. So like, you know, so like it was everyone, all the rest of my friends by that point, like their voices were like, had dropped like way too
Yeah.
low for that.
You're like, suck it, boys.
Well, I mean, I think for me, it was just like this sheer determination of like, no, I just want to sing the high notes. So I just like kept doing it,
Yeah.
like just out of sheer spite.
Yeah, I just wanted, the main thing I want to clarify is like, were you doing like some like awful falsetto or something, or just like the actual?
No,
way?
I was
Okay, yeah.
belting it. I was belting it
yeah.
out full. It was not like good,
But you were belted it.
but I was belting it, and I was just like, I'm determined to just keep doing this.
No, that's what happens when that kind of song comes on for people of our age, like, or just anybody when Free Fallin' comes on. You can't not. Well, one of my favorite things, just kind of in general, is I love people's like, or like just in general, like first excursions in art, whether that's like a 5-year-old's first poem or like the first songs you write when you're in middle school. So I want to ask if you have any memories of your first kind of formative excursions into songwriting, if that's something you've done. Obviously, Kaylin, you've talked about that, or just like making music, like as part of a band, on your own. using your instruments, using whatever skills or pursuits you had beyond kind of like the ensemble based stuff, or like playing in orchestra and bands and whatnot in like school, I guess. Like that's more for the love of music than for a class credit, as well as the love of music.
So when I was in middle school, I was in like 6th or 7th grade, and like my dad was a musician. I was like, starting to play drums at the time, and I was trying to be all like cool, like in front of my friends. So after school one day, like we're hanging out at my buddy's place, and I'm like, yeah, guys, I don't know, I've just been, been kind of going through it, I think I might write a song. I'm like, I might just, and hold on, give me a couple.
I'm just imagining 13-year-old Johnny.
Like as a mic drop, like I might do this.
I might just do this. So I stepped away from the party, and I was like, guys, I just can't. And I took my notebook, and I just wrote down some lyrics. I just didn't even think about it. Just went for it. And so I came back, and I was like, yeah, guys, I got these words, and I got this tune in my head, and it was so bad. It was something. It was something like I cried these tears of joy for you, girl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was like, it was something like,
Yeah, you and the Beatles both.
I know that you could find better than me, girl. And yes, I'll feel real bad too, or something like that.
Yeah, that's literally just like a Beatles song from
Your
the
coffee's
60s.
getting the exclusive
Yeah,
right now.
so-
Yeah, are we gonna get
We
get
could.
taken down in Germany or something? It's like this is copyrighted.
Yeah, actually,
Johnny put this out there. It's published.
I'm a secret German millionaire.
No, it's just always Germany.
Songwriting royalties.
It's the labels. It's not you.
So that was before
But anyways.
I played like guitar or anything, and then once I got to high school, I wrote my first song on guitar, and it was about someone getting the electric chair.
Oh my god.
Okay, Metallica.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But it's like simple and like pretty, and it's about like someone getting the electric chair. And it was like, if the electric chair awaits you, you can almost measure your fate.
Oh,
But it's like, and I thought I was being real cool.
words.
But then I was like, guitar melody, and so
Yeah,
it was
cool.
just like based on one chord, one D major with an added little thing to it, and then
the add little thing.
the added little thing made it so fucking cool. Yeah. But that started in high school, and then just from there, trying to not suck, which took some time, but. After writing like 20, 30 songs that sound exactly like Modest Mouse, for like,
But which era of Modest Mouse?
early,
Okay, word.
out of tune.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Scream singing, whisper singing. After I did that for a long time, then eventually you get more comfortable with yourself, and then you get, hopefully better, or at least you find your voice. But that took a long time for me.
It takes a long time.
I played in orchestras and jazz bands and all sorts of things for forever. I think just the notion of the bassist, like I embodied that. And for a really long time, I was like, oh, I can't be a songwriter, which is kind of a dumb thing to think.
That's like a weird bassist mindset, I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes.
Which I think is really limiting.
It's George Harrison syndrome.
Yeah, and it's so limiting because I think especially having like a classical upbringing, it's like there are very melodic, and sometimes like having a melody, like playing a fugue, you have the melody. Like,
Yeah.
So to have that mindset was just, I think, getting out of that was a big deal. And I when I was younger, I did have the classic kind of garage band experience. Of just kind of like, okay, here's some loops and like kind of doing something over it. And I think the most notable song that kind of my family talks about is that for Mother's Day one year, I made my mom a song called My Mother. Kind of crazy, right? And it was 2 chords, and it unfortunately is like really memorable, and I'm not gonna sing it because everyone's gonna sing it, but like my family still sings it.
Oh my
like
gosh.
I don't think it's been listened to in probably I don't know how many
Like,
years.
was it just like a bass part, or were you singing?
I
as
did
well?
guitar.
Oh, it was guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just 2 chords on guitar, and it has a pretty catchy chorus to it that my mom is like, if you ever get interviewed on 60 Seconds, they're gonna play it, and then it's gonna be this like really funny thing.
Damn, now we gotta,
which is like
we gotta live up to
manifesting.
60 seconds
I know,
now.
right?
You gotta email your mom like, hey,
Give
we
me the
have to
file.
beat the big guys.
But yeah, that was like kind of one of those moments of like, oh, maybe I can do this, because I was like kept hearing like this little riff that I
Yeah.
had kind of inserted in the song, whatever. But
Yeah, if it's lasted that long, it's not just like the kind of endearment that you get from family members. You're like, you did it.
I mean,
yeah.
it's a little silly, but
Well,
at the same
but,
time,
like, in a way
too.
that just stuck with them.
Yeah. So that was, I think, like the first song that really was like anything. But it wasn't until high school where I fronted my first band, and it was a folk duo, which I think was like really fun with like
Yeah.
having the stand up and still being to like be a vocalist with just like playing the downbeat or whatever. So that's really where I think my own songwriting just felt a lot of freedom with that.
Yeah.
Just because I think that genre lends itself well to just kind of playing something very simple bass wise and having more freedom vocally. But
Yeah.
yeah, just as I've gotten older, I think like coming from a very like trying to break out of that bass mindset or that box of sorts, it's kind of just been like, what is the weirdest shit I can write? And so like
Hell
my,
yeah.
my own solo stuff, I wouldn't say is like radical and crazy, but it's not like your normie two chord sad girl kind of song, I guess you would.
Taking shots at Phoebe
Expect.
Bridgers. Okay. I'm with it. No, take shots. Like, get the cannon.
Gotta do it sometimes, you know. But no, respect to all them.
It's like a cannon I'm firing regretfully, but like still a cannon.
But yeah, I think that's where like my songwriting's come from, is just kind of like, how can I develop this in a way that showcases things you might not hear or get to experience in a different way. So
Yeah.
that's just for my own solo stuff. But bass wise, always just trying to like complement what's happening while still like feeling really excited about what I get to play. And I think that's always like the way I approach music, is like listen first, add later, and
Yeah.
really like highlight space, but still wanting to just like go up there and like shred a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a
No,
little.
I relate to that as a sax player.
Yeah.
in a dumbass big band.
Gotta do it.
You got to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Either Kaylin or Al.
Oh
You don't have
geez,
to
I
keep
guess
the
for me,
semicircle.
well, like I just have some very distinct memories of like my friends and I, when we were like 14 or 15 or something, just going up to like, they had a detached garage and there was an attic above it that was just, it was like 120 degrees in the summer up there. It was so stuffy, but we just go up there with these like old acoustic guitars. I actually had one where it was like, my uncle had an acoustic guitar that was just left up in like central Minnesota at my grandparents' place, and it was like 30 years old, and the strings on it were 30 years old, and I learned how to play bar chords on that.
Oh boy.
So when I got my first electric guitar, it was easy. Like that's my biggest recommendation, is like if you learn how to do it on like the most annoying like acoustic guitar possible,
That's what I'm doing right now.
it'll make
It's
playing a
100 years
normal
old,
guitar,
yeah.
like a normal electric guitar, if you're playing that afterwards, so much easier.
Okay, unintentionally the right mindset.
Like, make
I'm
it-
taking notes, Kaylin.
Yeah, there you go. But we just like would just write the dumbest, stupidest, like, you know, little folksy like 2-chord songs, same type of thing. It was literally just for the pure enjoyment of like, I don't even remember what any of them were about, but they were just like stuff that like we couldn't get through a song without laughing.
Yeah.
You know, type of thing. But yeah, it was just memories of like just being like in just random places and just being the most obnoxious little shits possible, like being really loud and like playing on my mom's piano at home and stuff.
Were you a theater kid?
Yes and no.
I
Like,
mean, I'm not getting ahead of myself because there's obviously
we'll get
lyrics to
there.
stand by.
We'll get there. We'll get
but
there. But well, that was a Johnny composition.
Were you a theater kid?
Yes.
I mean, like, yes. Here's the thing.
We'll get there. We'll
So
get there.
I had friends who were theater kids, and so I wanted to be a
Okay,
theater
you were
kid so
adjacent,
bad.
yeah.
But like, and I did start doing it in high school, but I just like at the time was just like never quite putting myself out there enough to like really do that.
Are you a techie?
I was like a techie at heart. I kept trying to join the cast, but I spent all my time hanging out with the techies.
Okay, word.
But yeah, I guess that's kind of
Yeah, we don't need to go on the complete theater tangent because that'd be a whole other podcast
Yeah, let's not.
that
Part 2.
most of us would not enjoy, listeners included.
Yeah, so for me, like, it was around the time that, like, I had, like, acquired, like, that pair of chopsticks or, like, that pair. And I think eventually, like, my parents did get me, like, a pair of drumsticks, but, like, no drums. I would just, like, beat the
Not even
shit.
like a pad or something.
Nah, I just beat the shit out of the couch. But pretty much,
That's
like,
reaping versus sowing. That's not your fault.
like, there was this one day I was at school and I was playing with my friend at, like, recess or whatever, and he was like, hey, like, we should pretend like we're in a band. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then, like, we, like, did a song, and then I was like, damn, like, we should, like, do that again. And then he was like, nah, like, it's whatever. But then, so, like, I don't know, I just, like, thought that was really fun. And I don't know, around that time, like, I would just, like, write songs in my head, and, like, I would have, like, full melodies and, like, lyrics and, like, a whole thing. And, like, I had, like, I was just at my parents' house, like, a couple days ago, and my stepmom, like, pulled out, like, old pieces of paper that were, like, set lists of, like, songs that, like, I would just, like, sing in my living room. So that was cool. I started playing in my first band when I was a sophomore in high school. And then it was, like, just about a year later, I started making beats.
Yeah.
That's literally all there is to say about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
What? Am I completely mistaken? Because I'm suddenly paranoid that I am. Were you in Diffuser, the ska band?
Yeah.
Is that the band you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. My running bit for all of Ear Coffee since I found out about that is just whenever I can, I will bring up Diffuser, no matter how out of place it is. Like if I can find any adjacency, like within 2 degrees of Kevin Bacon, I will go for it.
Yeah.
Because I just love that was a band.
Yeah. No, it was, yeah,
Hell yeah.
cool for the time.
We'll leave it at that for now. It makes sense, I feel like, to segue into the band we're here to talk about, obviously, the Briefly Gorgeous. How did the band actually form? A very straightforward next question, but how did the 4 of you end up making music together? I know, if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of a 3 + 1 = 4 kind of deal.
Yeah, it was like
2 and then
it was like 2 and 2, and then 2 became
I'm getting
3.
ahead of myself. Just,
Yeah.
One
just explain.
So
and one more. Do you want to join the band?
I mean, no. Okay, cool. That's fine. I'm in a goddamn 10-piece. I don't. I need fewer people.
Need some sax.
But yeah, let's see. So I first met Maddie in college. We played in like different bands, but we like had played shows at college together. Like our bands had.
we both were really shy, and so we
and
wouldn't
we were
like,
playing
hang
bass.
out.
We were both playing bass for the bands we were in.
We wouldn't like hang out or talk, but we'd like wave to each other
Yeah.
on campus, and then we'd like part ways.
yeah. So we never like really interacted, but like we were aware of each other.
Yeah.
And
Like
then
kind of like mutual respect that you just kind of sense something almost. You're just like,
You're like, that's my person.
You're like-
but
you're
I
like,
already
yeah,
have 2 friends.
I'm too scared to talk to you. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. We each
Called
already
out.
had like 2 or 3 friends, and we were like, that was enough.
We're like, we're introverts, so like, this is cool.
yeah.
You need to be big to be like a whole 4th person.
Yeah.
So fast forward a few years, I started playing in a band with Johnny. So we met there, and we were like playing music together. And like during that time, we
Was this
started.
still in college or like?
No, this was
Post-college?
years
Oh,
afterward. Just out in the world. And
Yeah.
so Johnny and I met. We played together, and like while we were playing music, we like kind of connected over like songwriting together. Like felt like really cool to do. Like we'd start like jamming together on songs, and all of a sudden we'd have like, whoa, this was like a really cool song that just came out of nowhere in 10 minutes, and we're like, we really kind of connected over that. And then like over time, we just kind of like, we should like kind of do a thing where we're like, we play guitar together, because when we play guitar together, we like come up with some cool things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Maddie and I started playing in another band together, so we reconnected and kind of like became friends that way.
And I got to hear all of the like initial drafts of like their songwriting, and I just got to like fangirl and like geek out about it, because I was like, this shit is so cool, and like just had like mad respect, and like went to so many shows
Yeah.
of y'all's, and like
So when it
was just always kind of like this is good shit.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So when it came time for like me and Johnny to be like, okay, we need to actually like form a band and like be able to play shows, because it was just the two of us like
So
writing
hard.
songs and like we were like putting this together, but we were like, who do we like
That's how
ask?
so many bands form. Just two
But,
people
like,
playing guitar.
and
We're
I-
like, we need more.
And I had
more.
like I was already like, oh, like I have a friend who plays bass, Maddie. Like we've been friends for years now, and like, but I was always kind of like, well, Maddie's in so many bands. Like, sorry, not
Yeah.
to always bring that up all the time, but like,
That's what happens when you're in a lot of bands.
I just want to do my favorite thing all day long,
yeah,
every day.
that's totally
Yeah.
fair. But I just kind of would always assume like. But I just kind of assumed for a while. I was like, Maddie's too busy. She won't have time to join. Like I knew she liked the music that we were making, but I just was like, assuming that we had to like go find somebody else who was more available. But time went on, and like another band that Maddie was playing in asked us to like open for their release show last year, and we said, okay, yeah. We just assumed we'd have a band put together by then, and then time kept moving on, and we couldn't put a band together. And we were just like, okay, this is getting serious. Like, do we just need to do it as like a little acoustic set? Like, what do we do here? And then we were like, Maddie, do you want to be in the band?
And I didn't want to like, because there was one time where I was like, just saying, like, you totally can choose whoever you want, like, no pressure. But like, I've always loved the music, and like because every time I saw you, it was like, I know you're still doing this, and like, you do not have to pick me, but like, no pressure. But I love the music. I would love to play it, and like all this kind of stuff. And you finally asked me, I was like, yeah, no shit, dude. I've been trying to tell you,
my
like, let me
gosh.
play it.
It was
like,
the classic like shy
no
neither of us
worries if
wanted
not.
to
Someone's
like
been like pining after you
Yeah.
actively for months, and then and you're like, wait a minute.
yeah, like no worries if not, but like,
happening
please
here?
let me be in
Exactly.
the band.
It was literally just
The
the,
flow
musical.
bird.
It was just like the music of equivalent of that, where like both of us were like, I wanted Maddie to play bass for us, and Maddie wanted to play bass for us, but like neither of
too
us
shy to talk
had
to each other.
the like forwardness to just like put it out there.
Yeah. It's
And
okay,
so
it
like
happened.
finally it happened. And around that same time, it was like last year in the summer. Maddie and I are both friends with Joe Bartel, who was running the 319 Club at the time. And
Long live.
R.I.P. Long live. But their like farewell like weekender thing, Maddie and I went to
Yeah.
go watch one of the nights of that, and that's where I
Which
met Kate Melanophy.
Do you remember it was night one?
Night one.
Okay, cool.
Kate Melanophy and their band were playing, and it was Kate and then Al and Josie, and I just saw the three of them play, and I was just kind of like, I need to be in that band. I was just like, I noticed that they didn't have a bassist, and I was like, I can play bass. So I was just like, they just the music blew me away, and I was just like, really.
No shit.
But anyway, so I just was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So I just walked up to Kate afterward, and I was like, hi, do you need a bassist by any chance? And like. So they were like, yeah, cool. Like let's just have you show up to rehearsal, and so I did, and then we clicked, and I started playing shows with them, and so that's how I met Al. And then this show that we had been booked for this band that we had like just named the Briefly Gorgeous, like still didn't
like-
have a drummer.
like 4 days before or something.
Right. And so I was kind of desperate, and I was
Headliner
like,
had literally
I didn't want to
unnamed
like,
band.
Yeah,
I didn't want to
it
like
was.
overstep at all, but I was like, hey, Al, you play drums and I know you now, and we played a show together with Kate. Do you want to like fill in on this show? Because we don't have a drummer yet. Do you want to like just hop in for us quick?
But also, I don't know if you've told Al this, but you came back from like that first rehearsal and you're like, oh my gosh, the drummer of this band, like I want him like in our band. Like you're like this. I just have such a good feeling about this. And again, it's just like one of those moments of like, that's who's supposed to be in this project, and like you knew immediately.
Yeah, and I was just like, I knew I was like really busy, and we were just like, no pressure at all. Like literally just come in and like play this like 1 or 2 shows for us, and just hop in and like, well, figure it out. If you want to keep doing it, go for it. But like, no worries if not, type of thing. And then I guess Al can speak more to that.
Yeah.
But then it just kind of kept going.
Yeah, no. So like they after the aforementioned Kate Melanophy show, Kaylin was like, would you want to like play the show, whatever? And I was like, yeah, cool. So I learned like a bunch of the songs. We practiced like a shit ton for that show. Like we had so many practices, and then the show was like really cool. And then I just, at the time, it was very much like given like how like it was kind of like initiated, it was like, oh yeah, like I'll play this show and then just like see what happens. And then like there was just more shows, and I just like want to play as much music as I can. So I was like, yeah, like I can do it. And at least at that time too, like I was really busy. I was like in school and working and like playing other music stuff, and I couldn't necessarily like full commit to like being in another project when I was being pulled in so many other directions. So it was very much, I was like, I don't know. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but yeah, I don't know. I have been.
You showed up and you haven't left yet.
Yeah, but like at least like
In a good way, obviously.
at least like more recently, some of the time constraints that I have faced literally for my entire life, that being like school, those sorts of like time constraints don't exist for me anymore.
Yippee.
So I have way more.
That's like the most long-winded, subtlest way of saying that you graduated. Like,
Yeah.
I love that.
So I just have way more time. So over the summer, kind of like once like the dust settled from just like other stuff that was going on, I was like, yeah, like I can like officially be in the band, even though I've been playing with y'all for like a year now.
Yeah.
And like,
Facebook official.
Yeah.
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 So
That's kind of how we got Sage too. We're like, you want to hang out? And then they just kind of never left. We're like, yes.
yeah.
It's very foot in the door.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So we are obviously here to talk about the new EP. You've already made jokes about it like 4 times. But I don't know if we've said the title. I think so. I know the EP's I'm Shy. It came out yesterday. It's first release, so that's always a little extra exciting. There's something so clearly special about a first anything, first single, first EP, first album, first show, so on and so forth.
First love.
So the list could go on, and we could just keep naming things. But I'm choosing not to. You're not in control here.
I just love love,
I don't not love love, but
No, whatever.
okay.
It's fine.
Hey,
Yeah, it's
okay.
fine.
We're muting you for the rest of the night. Give the mic to Maddie. Anyways, it's the band's debut release. You've put out 3 singles before March, June, and August, so just kind of leading up over this year. I guess I don't know if anyone specified this, and I neglected to specifically ask this, but what year was this? All 2022 when the band first started playing together? Like you 3 at least kind of like locked in and were able to start playing shows. That was summer 2022.
Yeah.
Okay, you might have said that, but
Yeah. 2022, like last, like just over a year ago, like last year, August or something, is when we all
Okay.
started like playing rehearsals together and stuff.
okay.
A lot of the like pretty much all the music on this EP was like written like years prior. Like Johnny and I, like the first song that like, or actually the last song on the record, but like the oldest song of this EP we wrote in 2019.
Oh wow!
Like the end of 2019 we wrote
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we
So it's
still
been
have,
around
like,
for a while.
The little voice notes of just like the riff for Imposter from practice, like early 2019, and we just kind of had ideas of threads of songs for a long time, and that the recording process we started in 2021, and so it's been such a long time. So for the fact that this EP is actually out now is just kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even feel real that
Yeah.
it's on Spotify right now. I was looking at
The Swedes have you.
yeah, the Swedes love us. We're big in France. It's been a long time,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of surreal that this is actually out, and people can listen to it, because for literally years these songs have been in our brains, and then trying to work out all the specifics in songwriting, in recording, and I think we all learned so much in this recording process that for it to be out, it's just surreal, and I'm very thankful that it actually exists as a physical thing you can hold or stream. It's
That's
awesome.
Focus on the CD. It's just, we don't need to give credit to the streamers. Like, wait, buy a
We got
CD.
keychains.
Buy. You could get a keychain. We'll plug this more later, but
There's only
buy a
like 4
CD. At least
keychains.
buy it.
Don't make promises
damn
yet.
it. Yeah.
I can order keychains.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, they gave you the idea. Free
We have
marketing.
stickers and T-shirts.
We do.
Okay, we'll get to this
Those
later.
are actually
This is my
available.
fault. Okay, we're getting reverse Sisyphus. We
Songwriting.
need to stop. Would you say that kind of like the songwriting process for these songs over these many years has been consistent for all the songs you've worked on, or would you compare, like, or how would you compare, or how you're writing songs now to something like Imposter from 2019 or other other older songs that have been kind of germinating for so long, you've been working on for so
Yeah.
long? Like they say, I mean, there's the not to be a sucker for quotes, but like you have forever to make your first record, and then who gives a shit about the rest of that saying? But you just have you up until the first thing, you have so much time to work on it, and as a band solidifies and as you grow as musicians, obviously things are going to change, but I'm guessing some things stay the same
Yeah.
and kind of resonate all the way back with
I mean, like,
pre-COVID, any of us, just dear
Yeah.
God.
when like, so for the songs on this record, like Johnny and I were doing like all of the, like, it was literally just the two of us working in a basement, coming up with like really like figuring out how all the guitar parts work. Johnny recorded the drums on this record.
Yeah.
And so for the longest time, it was literally just the two of us spending like hours huddled in a basement, like trying out a million different ideas.
Just
and
going
stuff.
mad.
Yeah.
It was a very, very fun process. We just like, we'd like go, I have like some very fond memories of like, we'd meet up and then like start working on stuff, get set up, and then we like walk up the street and go get coffee or lunch or something, go walk to the park and just chill for a bit. And then we just go back down to the basement and just go nuts for hours.
Yeah.
And it was just a very, very fun process of just like learning how we each kind of interacted with music and how we spoke it through the like instruments that we played and stuff, and how to like communicate it very effectively to each other. So it was this kind of like very like feverish sort of process in a way.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing now is just like, now we have an actual like full band of people where it's like, we don't have to keep like, Johnny doesn't have to like set down the guitar to like go run behind the drum kit to like, whatever type
It's
of thing. And I
amazing.
don't have to like set down my guitar to like plug the bass in to like play a part or something. Like we have like a full band that can like try it out in real time, and it
The
makes
most
for
transformative part is the literal part where you just actually have four members
and I
versus
think
just the two.
each of the additions as the band's grown has like really just kind of like solidified this as like this band has its own voice now, and like I like the way that Maddie plays the bass specifically is like different than like me just like grabbing the bass and doing the thing. Is like so it like lends its own like the way that Maddie would like how she hears playing the bass line in this part and that stuff, and like how Al approaches playing the drums and stuff is just it as this kind of like much wider sort of sonic palette to like how we interpret those songs live and how we've been writing new songs has been like really exciting for me to kind of like see how that goes.
Yeah, which like when I jumped in, like there were already kind of existing bass parts for things, and I remember like when we were tracking, like just sitting down and being like, what is really important? Like what did you hear like at the heart of everything, and be like, and how can I navigate in a way that I'm still playing things that I hear as well? And like that was something that we like talked about really intensely, and kind of like making sure that things felt good for both of us, because it was like I didn't want to like plow through, be like, this is my band now, like just plow through without any disregard to like how things had been written or like how things had been
the initial composition.
exactly. And so just so there are things that's like, okay, this is kind of my signature, and then this is also like there are parts to it I'm like this is like a nod to something like that is very Kaylin, and kind of navigating that kind of thing too. So I'm also excited to kind of like as we're continuing to write as well. And like you said, like how we're navigating parts. But I still feel like in how I approach the music of being like, what is complementing, or like even still kind of being like, what would Kaylin do? You know, sometimes of being like hearing
Put
like,
that on a bracelet and
you know
sell
what
it.
I mean, right?
I'd buy that for $1.
Please don't.
But no, there's definitely some intentionality to like, how do you move through these songs with like the same love and importance and like understanding, or just like really learning how other people navigate musical space. And I guess you can say that for every band you're in, but
Yeah, that's
yeah.
just a very poetic and truthful way of talking about just being in a band, just kind of navigating each other's musical spaces.
I also very much relate to what you just said, Maddie, in that, and Johnny said this a second ago, but like I did not like play any drums like on like the EP, and at least like when I first started playing, like it's like all like Johnny's like tracks and like all of like those like root ideas. So like when I like did start like playing with y'all, like I wanted, in a very similar way, I didn't want to just like hear the songs and then like superimpose like what I thought was like best or anything like that. Like I did try to stay, like obviously I didn't learn like your things like 100%, but I tried to like get like as close as I could to
Navigate
doing
the roadmap.
Yeah,
and
like
whatnot, yeah.
get as close to what you were doing as possible. And then I think like using that as a starting point, and then just like us like practicing like over time, it just kind of started to, I don't know.
Oh yeah, you've established your own flow in like a really profound way, which is super duper tight, because like yeah, like some of the like drum tracks on the album, the way we play things live now, I think it's way better, because like there's this new flavor, there's a particular, you know, type of grooviness, and then also sometimes like thrashiness that's brought to the table. And that's the fascinating part about like where we're at as far as like, and like anticipation with, you know, writing newer material, is we have double the songwriters now for whatever our next project is. And we can all, you know, bring in songs from anywhere. I like to think about songwriting as like it's open. The world is open for play. Whatever feels like it should be a song could be, you know, and that prospect is absolutely thrilling, you know. Yeah.
Great. What kind of sounds and emotions and kind of trains of thought were you drawn to when you were making this EP, and especially when you're writing the lyrics? And I mean, the music and the lyrics obviously have an interplay, and they're kind of mutually informing each other, but just over the course of putting this EP together, and just kind of with the music you make in general with this group, what are those things you kind of find yourself wanting to work towards, or kind of mothing, if you will, where you're like, ooh, a lamp, but like you don't die. It's just you have like a song at the end. So like it's not as sad. I'm not encouraging death to moths. Shout out moths.
In terms of the lyrics, the thing that I've been noticing more and more is I like, because these like a lot of the lyrics for these were written 2, 3, 4 years ago, or at least the beginnings of them.
Yeah.
So like all of that before I came out as trans. So there's a very like listening to this back to this record for me is very funny because every song I can pick up on something where I'm like, there it is. Like
Bad that I felt the same.
I know, right? So there's this kind of wonderful sort of like, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, you know, that makes a lot of sense now. But yeah, so there's like ostensibly they were written about different things,
Yeah.
but it was like subconsciously bleeding through a lot.
Absolutely.
But a lot of the lyrics were written in the first like year or two of the pandemic, and so a lot of them kind of stemmed initially from like, you know, like the world sort of very kind of profoundly changing, and a lot of these like very big feelings about everything that's happening in the world around.
It was a big one.
Yeah, it was like just this kind of
fucking year.
it were just a lot of time where a lot of people felt like really stuck and really isolated, and just sort of alienated from their own existence and normalcy and everything, and just kind of having to like learn a lot about the world and how it both changed a lot and how it's very much still the exact same. And it was kind of navigating a lot of those sort of like internal feelings about like, there's like the opening track is this very just like feeling sort of this like repetitive nature of like just kind of feeling stuck where you're just looping the same day over and over and over again. Or like the song Sidewalks is very much about like
Sidewalks.
fear, like, well, fear of missing out, like just kind of feeling like, did I really like do anything with my life, or like am I missing out on opportunities to like do things that I really wanted to do, but I just didn't have the courage to just go for it, and so I'm just like wasting my years just doing the same thing. So it's this very, yeah, and a lot of it's just, and some of it's kind of like just seeing friends or loved ones kind of go through similar things. So like Origami Tiger is very much kind of like watching friends and loved ones kind of go through that sort of like depressive cycle and stuff, and just kind of seeing the weight of the world, just kind of like seeing all of that kind of the light and like passion for them kind of just being sucked out by like capitalism and just having to just like work
Day-to-day life.
Just day-to-day life, pulling out this like, man, like the wonder and joy and creative passion they could bring to the world if they weren't forced to spend all their time with like meaningless bullshit.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where a lot of the stuff kind of lyrically came from for me. Yeah, I'll let Johnny talk more about some of the other things in music and whatever. But yeah.
Like, well, for the only lyrics I wrote on this record were for Stand By, and so with that song, that was directly a response to try to write a song that would sound good and make sense that Kaylin would sing. And it was kind of like a songwriting.
So he succeeded.
Yeah.
So crazy. What?
Yeah, I tried to write something that would just fit thematically and kind of, just make sense, and something that would, have a different flavor than the rest of the songs, but also make sense, when the songs are presented as a whole.
Yeah.
And so, Stand By was basically like musical theater, quasi theater kid in high school. And it's like, but I was, being on standby in like a stage production, but also in your life, kind of being sidelined, but also you kind of participate in it a little bit. Yeah. You hope for the best, but you kind of have your own
the last
wishes.
verse kind of takes that in a slightly more hopeful direction.
Yeah, exactly. And so then, you're trying to, bookend it with like some positivity. And there's a little bit of positivity on this EP.
That is kind of like the one bit where you're like, hey, there's light at the end.
Yeah, right? Just a little bit, not too much. But.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's kind of like a pandemic-born record. But like the emotions and the things that were all kind of like all the turmoil we were feeling manifests itself in so many different ways through each of us and through the art we make based on our experiences. Like that, I can sense the through line there. Where it's like that, all the burdens and just for lack of a better onomatopoeia.
Like to that, like I remember like when pandemic first happened and everyone's like, I'm gonna write
I've never heard pandemic before. What?
Like everyone's like, I'm gonna write an EP about being in fucking quarantine.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. We've been doing
I'm not gonna buy this on Bandcamp. Sorry.
It's like, okay, cool. We've been in quarantine for like 4 days. Like we have no idea what the long-term ramifications of this are, but like one thing, I mean, I don't even know if this is like necessarily like cool, but I feel like it's only been like more recent, and not to say that like people haven't been releasing like in air quotes, post-pandemic music, like since things have been more lax. But I feel like within the last like
There were
year
air
and-
quotes around post-pandemic. We're just
Yeah.
for all the people at home.
Yeah.
Mask up, come on.
But like I feel like it's only been until like more recently where you can see where those themes are like being touched on in like a more I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like not as like
I
immediate
get a sense where
and,
you're going, yeah.
and like not as like reactionary like oh like about this, and more so like that is the life we lived, and because of
Continue
that
to live.
continue to live, and everything that like was created was like very like immediately informed by that. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I guess it's hard to say that it's like cool to see that, because like that like the
It's a lot of
pandemic
profound suffering.
yeah, because like the pandemic like is and like was like very like traumatic and like damaging in a lot of ways. And
But on the
Art-
other hand,
art is art,
a lot of
you
us
know?
are trans now.
This is true.
yeah, so
I think a strength though, like lyrically, is just removing like the global timeline. Like I think
Yeah.
the songs are so relatable, and there's just like
Yeah, like
that.
you listen to it, you don't
universal
think, yeah,
message.
this was written in 2020.
Yeah,
You're like,
like,
this is about
that
masking up
too.
and staying inside. It's like, no,
Yeah.
there's about a lot of weird, complicated feelings.
Yeah, there's a timelessness to it, I think, and even just like genre wise, I think there's a lot of people that compare us to things that have been out for 30, 40 years, and even to just kind of like, I don't know, just talking to the strengths of the record, I think there's something about it that is just so relatable, and yet like it's fresh and yet nostalgic at the same time, and just like speaks to the heart
Who's
of
the
a
music
lot
journalist
of folks.
now? You're speaking prose about your own music.
Well, I wasn't
That's what
a
I
part
ended
of like the lyrical aspect of it,
Yeah.
and got to really kind of jump on, after the fact, and just again, just like my
be
timeline
awash
of
in those. Yeah.
joining the band, of just kind of being like, I got to appreciate it before I got to be a part of it, and
Yeah.
and to really sit with a lot of the things that, like as they were being made.
That's why it's best to join a band after like a year or two. You kind of get a double whammy. It's awesome.
But yeah, I think that's something to just talk to the strength of it, and that it's not really, time specific in the same way. Or at least I don't feel it is as a listener and not as a writer.
Yeah,
For the lyric class.
because I think for me, like how I approached a lot of the lyrics on this was like obviously the timeline of things happening externally affected like what I was thinking about internally, but a lot of what I try to write more about like how like not about how direct events were like affecting me,
Yeah.
but like more thinking, okay, now like just these events are like forcing me to like self-reflect in ways that I hadn't before. And it's sort of just kind of beginning that process of like deconstructing my own self, and like just kind of like just like deconstructing myself and rebuilding myself up as the person I am now, and kind of setting this what I kind of hope is that like lyrically this EP is like kind of the deconstruction portion of that, and setting the stage for like the next sort of stuff that I write to be about kind of like realizing my true self, and sort of like moving that forward. It's sort of that process of like it's the uncomfortable and not like fun process that you have to kind of go through if you want to like improve yourself and your relationships with people and stuff. But like it's that sort of like very uncomfortable but necessary process of like self-reflection and stuff that like hopefully can lead to like manifesting the change that you want to see within yourself, I guess. Yeah,
Become trans.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Come out, coward.
Be gay, do crime.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, the EP's out now, so definitely check it out. Buy a CD, buy it on Bandcamp, toss the band a few bucks. But definitely give it a listen at the very least.
Thank you.
I fucking hate that I'm about to do this. Like I'm so fucking upset. But I've asked you about this before, Kaylin, but it's only because I love Ocean Vuong so much. But I want to ask about the connection with the band name.
Yeah.
More because I want people to read his poetry than I'm forcing myself to ask this goddamn awful question about explain the band name, please, because that's the shittiest question you can ask.
Sure.
But I'm humoring myself this time because it's a really good connection.
Yeah.
To who?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh.
This is
Al
a big
doesn't-
learning day for Al. I'm
Well, no,
loving
because
this.
like also like I remember like when I started playing with y'all, there was no name, and it was like one of the classic like there's like 5 different band names, and it just kind of felt like throwing a dart at
Yeah.
the board, you know.
So, yeah. For anyone who by chance doesn't know by now, one of my favorite bands in the entire world is My Chemical Romance, for good reason. But when we were like trying to come up with a band name, I was like trying to think of like how to come up with a good band name. And I looked up, and like how My Chemical Romance did it was like one of the band members worked at like a Barnes and Noble and like chose, and like they based the band name off of like
I will note
a book
that
title.
Kaylin is wearing their My Chem shirt right now.
Oh yes, I
So.
am. But yeah, they had seen like a book title and like based their band name as like pretty, like made it pretty similar to I think it was something like Tales of Chemical Romance or whatever. And so they made it My Chemical Romance. And so I'm like, okay, let me just look through a bunch of like book and poetry titles and stuff that I'm familiar with. And so I just started digging through everything. And so that's where I saw there's Ocean Vuong has a book called On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. So I'm like, what if we just did the Briefly Gorgeous?
Yeah.
Because like that kind of stuck out to me. And and that's what we ended up choosing.
Which is funny because we had like a month long, maybe 6 months or 6 weeks of like just turmoil of like we had like spreadsheets and voting processes, and like we just have to pick one and run with it. Like it just got to that point, and that was like one of the last suggestions of like, what about this? And we're like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like it was so no
That's it.
brainer at that point. I mean, I think we also just were like, this has gone on for too long. Like we just have to pick one.
Time kind of picked the band name a little bit.
But I mean, to some degree. But that isn't to say that it isn't a great name. I think
Yeah.
like we heard it and we're like, yeah, that's it.
When it popped up, we all were like, yes, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's hold on to that.
Yeah, it made sense
Yeah.
because all the other like contenders were like, we like it, but it's just not it. You know,
Yeah.
it's not so sparkly the way we need it to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I have like a horrible tendency of like trying to find the perfect like like anything, like whether it's in the studio, it's like another take, please, or it's like trying to find a name. It's like, okay, that's good, it's really good, but you know,
Johnny has commitment issues.
yeah, I have serious commitment issues. Oof. Yeah, like,
I love you, Johnny.
I love you too.
so much.
I'm figuring it out, you know.
but
Jesus Christ. No,
I say it
Keanu.
lovingly.
no, stop with the. No, they can't both. Okay, I'm not getting into that. You're pissing off the biblical side of me. Moving on from the EP, and that question, which was a beautiful answer to a shithead question. I will not stop hating on that question.
Do a gorgeous question.
Turn your
I
mic
can
off.
leave.
Yeah, exit the premises.
Let's briefly change subjects here.
Oh, shut the fuck up. There is no cursing on the show. I have to hand bleep all of these. I'm doing this to
Shit.
myself as a form of self-flagellation. It's like again, it's my Sisyphus. Is no, it's not. I'll stop. What is a special moment you've had with the band's music, with your own music, whether it was just a release show or like a live performance, that kind of experience, whether it was listening back to a first mix of something or like hearing it on the radio even, just any kind of moment that was especially meaningful over the years that the band has been percolating without fish.
That's a really good question. One of my favorite like things that we've done collectively, we played a show at Mort's. I believe it was on the 16th of March, if I'm not mistaken, which was 6 months ago today.
All right.
True.
Anyway,
straight.
though, but like we played Anita, Velveeta played. Who else?
Vend and Offener.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it was totally the single.
It was the first single release,
And
yeah.
like
Burnout.
I just like remember that being like a particularly fun night. Like, I don't know, there was just like a lot of like, I don't know, that it definitely felt like a coming out party, like of sorts. Because I don't know, we're just like playing with like people or that like I had never like played with before, and like seeing people, and that was a really fun show. Yeah, that's kind of what I can
Yeah,
say
I was
about
gonna say that show too, because that felt
was
like
so legendary.
that was so much fun. That show felt like, it was the first like music that we had dropped, and that was really exciting. But also just the bill and the atmosphere. It felt like this is where we should be right now. Like these are the types of shows we should be playing, and and hopefully we'll play well. And it just all the emotions and the feels, I think we just ran with it, and I think we played a really good show, and it just felt effortless. There were like no nerves, at least for me. Like I felt totally calm, and usually I'm super nervous before a show, but that one was just like, super chill, and yeah, definitely up there for like top memories.
Yeah, and that show came together. It was kind of like, how can we like shoot for the moon and ask all these kind of like really well established bands to be a part of it? And we're like, no one's gonna say yes, and then they all said yes, and that was like kind of a crazy moment. But yeah, it was a definitely, like, I've said this to a lot of folks, but I just feel like this project has hit the ground running. Like, just the opportunities and like the love from the very first like show that we ever played. Like, there's just been such a welcoming into the scene and community, and like just like super grateful for it. But my favorite show actually has to be one that's more recent. We played Hook and Ladder, and Kaylin broke her guitar, and so again, yeah. And we borrowed a guitar, and the strap was way too long, and it was our very last song. And Kane was like, fuck it, I'm not gonna fix it right now for one song. And then it became more and more obvious, like as the show went on, that like, or like as the song went on, that it just was like too hard to sing and do this and like play all of the like complicated riffs.
It was down at my knees.
Oh my God.
It was
it was egregious.
it was pretty egregious.
So she started to like pick up one leg and like balance the guitar on her knee and sing and like do all of it at the same time, and was like, fuck it, I'm getting on the ground. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a photo we have on all our socials right now, but I kneeled down and like
proposal style.
yeah, like, and like slowly maneuvered her one boot onto my knee, and we finished the whole song. We played the rest of the song that way.
Oh my gosh.
It just was like iconic moment of
Fantastic.
like,
It was
this-
cute as fuck.
it was so good. It just felt the connection, and
Yeah.
it was super silly, but like it's like, oh, this is really fun.
Yeah, all of those are definitely highlights for me. I think another really like highlight moment for me was another recent show. We went out to Wisconsin and played Farm Party.
That was fun.
That was really, really fun. And the memory that sticks out to me the most is like after we played our show, they had some like beanbag toss stuff out in the yard, and like I think like Butter Boys were closing out the night, and they're like one of my favorite bands around. I just love every time I get to see them. They're really, really cool. And so they just played their long set. They played a Nirvana cover. It was great. And they were just like, we just got to listen to Butter Boys playing a set on the deck on the back of this house in the big yard. And we were just playing like beanbag toss as a band. Like we split up into teams.
Dark as
pitch
hell.
Yeah.
like we couldn't see anything. And we were just like chucking, beanbags, like just listening to, and it was just this really fun. And there was a big bonfire afterward.
Giant
And it was just a
bonfires.
very fun, it was just like a really magical night. And it was really, really fun. I'm like, this is just like a bunch of friends. And it was,
That
it's really a sweet moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
really fun.
Good
Yeah.
pensive moment too, because like the fire was insanely huge, and it just like we all stood there and were like, holy shit, look where the fuck we are. Like, sorry, I have to bleep all that. but
God
just like
fucking damn it.
I'm so sorry. But just like that like moment of reflection of like, how did we get here? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. That was also a really great moment.
Cool. Great to hear about all of that. What's something that you can truly love or appreciate about the art or the music that you make? And it's kind of weird to self-engage or self-promote almost like this, but just something that you, whether in the context of this band or just more in general, like just something that you can kind of give yourself like a self 5 for, not to make a dated shit reference.
I'll start.
I was gonna say, how did this keep getting turned on me? I've been starting
well,
the
you're on
last
that
couple.
side.
Yeah.
You've just been going clockwise.
Yeah.
We're not a clock. We don't need to go clockwise.
I know we don't
No,
need to.
I'm
This is
not
kinda what
criticizing.
happens.
I'm promoting.
I'll start since I had to kind of think about this question for someone else recently too. So,
So other people are copying us. Well, I'm gonna fuck them up. Square up, other
just
person.
had to think about a similar type
Other
of question.
publications.
Something I really appreciate
Hidden in
about
the cage.
working with this group is we're all very rhythm oriented. Like obviously, like Al plays drums and Maddie plays bass. That's the rhythm section. But like Johnny played drums too, and that's one of the core instruments that he's played for like his whole life. And so, between that and then myself as well, like I've played drums some too, and I've also played bass in bands and stuff as well. So like all of us have experience with rhythm instruments to a degree where like Johnny and our guitar playing is very like rhythmically like oriented, like groove oriented type of stuff. So I love how like we just can really, it just sounds like really tightly put together. Like there's just this very energy. Like we're always like on the beat, and we can kind of intuitively figure out like, if we get off in rehearsal or in a show where like somebody's off by like half a count or something, or like just something happens, we couldn't hear something, we can very quickly recover from stuff. I think very intuitively, like we just kind of can very easily, like we have this like sort of collective pulse, and we can kind of feel where everything's at really easily. And that just makes it really like, I feel a lot less stressful, or like I feel a lot less nervous playing our shows because of that. Like I just know that when we get up there, nothing's gonna train wreck. We'll be fine. Like everything's gonna be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that too. Everything just feels so effortless in this band, where like in other bands I've struggled to just make things go, make things feel natural, make things seem like you're not thinking about them. But in this band, I some of the trickier things that have been issues in other bands, I really don't think about, because it all just kind of falls in place, and it feels very natural and effortless to a point where it's just like that. I didn't know that this was possible to be in like a mind meld with 3 other people and just have it flow. And I know where they're going to be at. They know where I'm going to be at. If we get off, there's maybe like a little like glance like, oh, that was funny for a second, but then we're like right back on it. And yeah, it felt this way literally from the first practice with Al. I remember that. Yeah, it was really natural and really easy from the beginning, and it's so cool, and I'm eternally thankful to everyone. This is the coolest stuff ever.
I've created a bit for myself, and now I regret it.
For me, and it's not necessarily like exclusive to the Briefly Gorgeous particularly, although what I'm gonna say extends to Briefly Gorgeous and like the other things that I do too. But I'm just happy that I wake up every day and I just like want to like work on something, whether I'm like going to rehearsal or playing a show, or I'm on my computer doing stuff. I'm just, I don't know. It's obviously like immensely gratifying, at least like for myself to be able to do that. And I'm happy, at least like, especially in the last like 4 months that I've been out of school, and I've been able to kind of I don't just have like more time, and I don't know. It's just like I'm glad that I like still have fun doing this. Perhaps that won't be the case for my whole life. I would very much like it to be. And for now, it's like really exciting, and I am really grateful to play music with people who I really love and people who I really trust, and with people who I like just like hanging out with. So
Real.
just like I'm glad that I'm having fun.
So true.
Ditto to that. I think kind of going, this is kind of, I guess, to everyone's point. I just feel like this group, there's like no weak member. If that like, there's no catering to the capabilities of any one person. There's kind of like, you really are writing to the limit of your own capabilities and maneuvering just really big spaces and just like limitless. I don't know how to say this, but I just feel like there are no constraints to what we're trying to do. And that is a really cool and freeing place to be. And even just like we like covered like something that was like way heavier than what we normally play, and it just was like, oh, we did that really easy. Or like we started like adding some like softer things, and we're like, oh, we can navigate this too. And it's just been like cool to see how we navigate different, like even just genre switches within like the indie rock realm, and be like, we can do kind of anything. And I think that just says a lot about the capabilities of everyone in this group. And yeah, it's just a really fun place to like play, to and I guess to like feel the word play as well, not just like to perform, but to literally just like play in that sonic space. And just kind of like, even when we're like, okay, how can we make this one part kind of weird? How can we add something that's unexpected here? Or just thinking about the new stuff that we're kind of working on and sitting with, there's just like these elements of like, you really have to be checked into the song to do it, and to just do it so effortlessly is just really cool. And yeah,
So what you're saying is there's a doom metal album coming.
just you wait.
And that no, I am. This is being issued as a challenge.
Your coffee exclusive.
Yeah. We'll have the second interview only when you've made a doom metal album.
Kalen's scream, top notch.
Hey, practice makes perfect. I have faith. I'll donate 2 cents to the Kickstarter, not because
There's a
I
few
don't
on
want to
the
donate
EP.
more. I just don't have any money.
There's a few on the EP. You gotta find them. They're so good. They like.
Oh, the screams. I thought you meant, I meant like doom riffs. I'm like, no.
If you want,
I
them
would
to
have
be.
noticed. I definitely would.
It's like
The longest song's 4 minutes. There aren't doom riffs.
there's like little tiny micro chops for
There's
like
micro
fractions of a second, and
you have like a secret like
You gotta
double
dig.
kick or something.
If you played in reverse.
It kills Paul McCartney. I hope not. I don't play backwards, anybody. We don't want Sir Paul to die.
Love Paul.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyways, not speaking of the Beatles in the slightest. I like to start to kind of wrap up episodes by asking for recommendations, essentially. We're totally not patenting this from another well-known indie podcast. They can suck it, but it's a little recommendation corner. So just if you have any bands that you've been listening to, especially local, DIY, just underground, underappreciated in your eyes bands, whether the ones you've played shows with, have seen perform, or just really, really like.
Fend.
Okay, that goes without saying. Like Fend, I don't remember
Super
who else
good.
you mentioned. I mean, Anita, like all the bands have already been named. We could just preemptively like scroll back a couple, like 20 minutes, and just jot those down. Like if you haven't heard of them already, but if you haven't heard of them already, are you paying attention? Like,
I've been thinking about this because I knew you were going to ask this.
yeah, that's the deal with being
So
formulaic.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to go first, and I literally have to pee so bad.
Me too.
Oh
It's-
God,
okay.
the sadness toilet is right behind you, but just don't do it on mic.
Yeah, no, I wasn't planning on using that. Okay, but anyway, no, I've been thinking about this a lot. A couple weeks ago, I saw Lana Leone for the first time at a house show. And I literally like I didn't even know who like they were. Like it's something I need to get better at, but like when I like show up to like play a show, sometimes I just like don't even know who I'm playing with half the time. And it's no disrespect to anyone. I'm really sorry. It's just like life is crazy, but I had never even like heard of them, and it was their EP release show, and like every single song they played, it was like, oh my God. And then I listened to the EP like the next day, and I was like, oh my God, this is literally just as good as it was. So I've been listening to Lana Leone a lot. There's a band from Kansas City called Flooding, and they're about to come out with an album in, I don't know when, maybe it's at the end of this month, maybe it's next month, but I'm really, really, really into Flooding. They've came to Minnesota like twice in the past couple months. I'm really into Love Ulysses.
Dude, love him.
Yeah, Love Ulysses. Really like him. I really like June the Kid. He's a rapper from Minneapolis. He's super, super, super tight.
Yeah, I'll
Sorry guys, I'm so sorry.
You're good. I'll definitely second Lana Leone for sure. Because I was with Al at that show, and absolutely incredible band. I always, my usual marker for knowing when a show or a band is really good is when I watch them play, and I'm immediately like, I want to be in that band. I want to be making that kind of music. Our next song should sound exactly like that. That's, if I have this like compulsion to just make the kind of music they make immediately after watching them, then I know it's like top tier.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, especially if it's like a complete genre switch where it's like, that's not what I usually do, and I'm still compelled to do it, then it's top tier. But yeah, Lana Leone is incredible. At least as far as others, I've been bad about like not listening to like a lot of music lately. I mean, like, I feel like my current favorites are just ones that like we all collectively know around here, but I'll list them anyway. Like She's Green are incredible. They do shoegazy stuff. But yeah, they make some really gorgeous music. And well, and then the aforementioned Fend, they just put out an EP like 2 days before us here this week.
Woo.
It's really, really good. They're friends of ours, and they're very sweet people, and they make incredible music.
It slaps.
It does. Yeah. I don't know if I have any like other immediate like recommendations.
There's no quota you have to hit.
I didn't plan for this in advance like Al did. I didn't have advanced
that's
knowledge of
because
this.
you weren't in Bugsy 3 years ago.
Yes, exactly.
If you were, then you would have known. But since you weren't, you don't.
There you go.
Surprise, surprise.
So anyway, I'll let others.
Not
continue to
an
give more
intentional
recommendations.
Lanapy reference.
You're good.
I think a band that I have seen repeatedly, and every time it's just like jaw on the floor, is the band Vin. Just spelled V-I-N.
Vin riffs. Yeah.
Vin is fucking incredible. I think that's another one of those bands that just like every member is insane at what they do. And especially just like Kevin, kind of idolize that guy. Just as a bassist, as someone who also just makes like his own music and everything. Really cool band. Love those guys. Yeah, every show I'm at, I'm just like, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's always a fun moment.
Hell yeah.
The band Mullet, super good. You know, their use of like bass tracks live with Jared playing to the click is really like effortless and really, really good. I saw them at the 331 Club on like Pride weekend, and they were just blew me away with how tight they were, and that got me thinking, like the old bands like Susie and Rupert Angel Eyes. I just want to give a special shout out to the Rupert Angel Eyes album Young Sunset, which I've been listening to. That's from like, I want to say 2014, 2015. Still one of like the best local albums.
Young Sunset?
Yeah, by Rupert Angel Eyes. Insanely good, like kind of like 60s rock feel, and that's been on my playlist recently because it's just some really good like almost like 60s style songwriting.
Yeah.
Which I really dig.
Cool. Well,
But yeah.
Al left and came back, so we've
Hold
already
on,
come full circle.
hold on. I want to say this. Shout out to everyone in Minneapolis making music. Like
So true.
Like it's a really. The cities, as I've gotten older, has progressively felt smaller and smaller, and sometimes like different groups of people and things of that nature can be like stratified, and at the same time, it's really cool that so many different pockets exist, and it's like literally like any type of thing that like you could like want. I feel like you can find in Minneapolis to a certain extent.
Yeah, Twin Cities, yeah.
The Twin Cities. And so like though like we named like a small handful, like it's really cool to be in a place where like everyone is doing their thing like flawlessly and like very much like has like their own voice and like their own feet like planted on the ground.
Yeah.
So like
No, I often joke during these sections that if we really wanted to, we would just double the episode, like triple, just keep going, naming, recommending bands. And even then, we would not cover all of the possible artists.
Yeah.
Like for any given like year or so or whatever. So
it's a
Yeah.
great scene, super supportive, and like just really grateful.
Lot of
I think
gay
for the
people.
corner that we occupy
cool.
specifically, it's not about one upping. It's really about like creating community
so
and
beating the shit out of each other.
creating, and just like creating really like intentional spaces and ones that feel good,
I
and
guess I was wrong. Yeah.
just approaching it with love and care at the center of it, which I think is always a good thing.
I have one last recommendation that I just thought of while I was upstairs. The Mariah Mercedes, the guitarist for
ooh,
the
I
Boys,
just
they
listened to
put out
some
a
of
They put
that
out,
this
like,
morning.
record.
They put out like their like backing track album or whatever,
or like their
or like the licensed music or whatever. Like
I
This was,
don't
like,
know.
yesterday as well.
No,
I
they
thought
dropped
just
like
released-
yesterday.
yeah, I thought that like they'd written a bunch of songs to be like used for like syndication or something, and then they didn't. I'm
whatever's
they have
for
new
the
music out. Yes,
it was like a really cool, like kind of like poppy, sort of like
it's like bedroom, the kind of
but it was
catchy.
it was definitely it was a very like fun, like it was definitely like good like
I need to listen to that.
music to put on, listen to at home
Yeah.
and stuff. It was a very.
I want to clarify. I was not trying to knock it by saying like I just thought I
Okay.
read something in the post
Anyway,
about
it was a really cool record. I
Yeah,
enjoyed
no, it's out
listening
now.
to
It's really
it. It was
cool.
really cool. I recommend it if that's your that's a genre that you like listening to.
or just check it out. Fuck
Just check
you.
it
Just
anyway.
do it.
Yeah, do it.
I like it.
Expand, grow.
Expand,
Right?
grow.
Don't be a genre coward.
It's like it's
See
less
what's
than an hour,
going
probably.
on.
Like you have an hour. You have an hour.
Like if you're gonna go on YouTube, put the music on and go on YouTube.
If you got to drive, put the music on and drive safely. Anyways, PSA time over. So we're obviously at the end. So, what does the band have in the immediate future? Kind of looking forward. We've obviously talked about working on new music. I find myself often saying this, but you did literally just put out a new body of work. So, like, hopefully that includes some rest and some celebration. But yeah, what does
None for the
Rest?
wicked.
No.
None.
think we're-
Okay, I know who I'm talking to here, but like I gotta say it. We gotta encourage good behavior.
Thank
but
you.
We're gonna have to ride this out a little bit. I think we were thinking, we'd put this out and maybe we'd have a minute to breathe with it. But I think the response has just been incredible, and already from folks, it's really evident that we have a little moment of momentum here.
Oh my God, there's totally someone I forgot with the recommendations. And I
damn
gotta
it,
tell you.
Al.
Shout out to Human Error. That's all I'm gonna say.
But
let's just
go ahead.
Just
Okay.
what are the future
Um,
end plugs? Just your
the most immediate thing, our release show.
Yeah.
29th,
We
right?
gotta plug that.
29th.
The 29th is going to be at Pillar Forum.
I don't know if this will be out by then, but if it is, you should be there, and if it is, you should have been there.
You should have heard of it. It's kind of Anita's also releasing an album, and so it's a co-release show.
Yeah,
Shout out Anita for like letting us hop on that when our first plans fell through.
yeah.
That's gonna be really cool. We're gonna get support from Crush Fund and Basketball Divorce Court, our besties. It's gonna be an incredible night of incredible music. That's gonna be a really fun show. So if this is out and you're listening to this before that, you should be there. And if it's afterward, you should have been there.
If not, L. Classic L.
I mean, we're gonna have definitely we'll have plenty of other shows happening later this fall that have yet to be announced. But
Yeah, for Maddie's sake.
we've got more.
gotta go.
We've got more things lined up. So like, if you missed that, like
There's more to come.
There's more. To come. Yeah, we've been writing some new music and stuff that we
Hell
should
yeah.
hopefully start maybe incorporating into shows sooner rather than later. But yeah,
Where can people find you online?
everywhere, the normal places.
Don't say everywhere. Like
Instagram.
What's the handle?
What's the handle?
The
people
Briefly-
know
Briefly
where.
Gorgeous.
Where?
The Briefly Gorgeous on Instagram, on Facebook, I don't use Facebook, but
Well, it's there.
On
I guess.
X.
there. I just copied.
Don't fucking say that. It's called Twitter.
Yeah, we're on Twitter.
That's a new. Okay, yeah, definitely follow the TikTok. Exclusively follow the TikTok. That's where all new music is going to be coming out. TikTok exclusives.
Wherever you like to listen.
It's like
to
Patreon,
music.
but free and weird. But
Yeah, wherever,
anyways,
wherever you like to listen to music, all the usual streaming places,
yeah,
Spotify,
yeah.
Apple,
Buy the
whatever
CD, haters.
places, Deezer.
Deezer. That doesn't exist. I don't. That's a
Pandora.
psyop. Deezer's a psyop. I've never heard of anyone using Deezer. On that note, thank you so much for stopping by, guys. I know we had a rush at the
Thank
end there,
you.
but
Having us.
definitely check out the new EP. It's available everywhere, and yeah, we'll see y'all next time.